Before we get started into this episode, Tyler, do you want to tell everybody about something?
Oh, I
What
got
was
something to
it?
tell. I got something to tell peoples. This episode is sponsored by Audible. And I'm sure you guys know what Audible is. It is the top lead in audiobooks. At least as far as I know, it's the lead. It's got thousands of titles, including all the Lord of the Rings. So we're going to be talking about Lord of the Rings a lot today. And if you want to actually see how the movies differentiate from the books, go on Audible. You can use our code. What's that code, Nate?
www.audibletrial.com/that's movies brother, no apostrophes or commas.
Yep. So follow that link. It is in the description. You can get a free month trial. And usually it costs money for this, and you're going to get it for free. Some free books for a month. So go on there, give it a shot. It's got more than just audiobooks. You can listen to podcasts, get your news digest, all that. Use our link, get free month trial. Do it.
That's it. Woo! Like, say you're at a concert.
All right, start over. Start this question over.
Okay, you're at your favorite musician's concert, right? The band, they're playing or single, whatever. Okay, they just finished. They're doing hard. And they're talking to the audience. And like, who out there like wants to sing? And you like everyone cheers, and then they're like, you're cheering, but you have no expectations. And then they go stop, and they point at you, and they go, that guy, get up here and start singing. What do you sing?
Doobie doobie doo. Wait. Well, if this is my favorite band and I'm at their concert, probably one of their songs, dude.
What is it then?
Well, I don't know. Well, now you're asking me what my favorite band is, and then what my favorite song by that
you
band
actually
is.
put that on yourself.
What?
You kind of put that on yourself, didn't you?
No, what you asked me a question.
Yeah, I didn't ask you what your favorite band is, but you implied that it should be your favorite band. So
Well, if I'm at, I thought you
now
said
we're all
you're at your
thinking
favorite
that, but we weren't
band's.
previously.
I thought you were saying it's your favorite band's concert.
Mm-hmm. But
So,
I never asked who they were.
right. So you asked what I'd be singing. It'd probably be something from their arsenal of songs.
So you think that we should just myself and the audience should just be satisfied with the answer? Oh, probably something from my favorite band. Thanks.
No. I'm not saying you should be satisfied with it, but I don't know what that would entail because I just listen to a lot of things, dude. I listen to a lot of things, so I don't really have a favorite band.
Was Shrek.
Okay, so what's your Shrek song? Wait, Shrek's not a song.
Yeah, just the song Shrek.
Shrek. All right, get off. You can go now. Thanks for singing, and don't ever open that mouth again. Thank you very much.
No, the real answer is this grill is not just a grill. What is it? This grill is not a home.
Yeah, a SpongeBob song is probably a really solid pick no matter where you are.
Honestly.
If someone asks you to sing, you just have to pick a SpongeBob song.
What if you're at you're doing someone's funeral and they ask you to sing?
What's the song? What's the one where they're in the dome underwater and SpongeBob
I don't know the name of it, but it's like all
right, cool. So you have no idea. I meant the words.
Because I'm free falling. I don't know.
The only other song I can think of right now at the top of my head is the Jellyfish Jam or whatever. And that doesn't have words
in that.
I'm trying to think of songs that aren't just "A Grill Is Not a Home."
Yeah, no, that's a banger. That's why you can only think of that one. No,
and I can't. Rip My Pants.
Yeah.
Honestly, because if we're going off this same logic, really well known, cartoon song, I might go "Shiny Teeth in Me."
That's not a very well known cartoon
for
song.
me. It's very well known in my mind.
Very well to myself.
My shiny teeth that sparkle, just like
by
the
Chip
stars in
Skylark.
Space.
Who was actually a member of NSYNC.
Oh, those were the days. We had nothing
How
to
great would it
worry
be
about.
if you look up old pictures of NSYNC and every single one of them is replaced with that guy is just cartoon Chip Skylark.
By Chip Skylark, but it's like everyone in NSYNC in this style of
is Chip
Skylark. Everyone is Chip Skylark if you really think about it. Who's not happy when they brush their teeth and then they're shiny? just like the stars in space. Ah.
God
Welcome
damn
to our first bonus episode of That's Movies, Brother. I say bonus, but yeah, our second episode of the week where we gonna be talking. We're kicking off with Lord of the
Something hot, something
Star
fresh.
Marvel. What are we talking about?
Rings of the Lord. A ship
Oh,
fellow
oh, what?
ring. The
All right, off to a hot start. But before we jump into that, before we jump into that, I do have a story for you.
Sorry. Yeah, what's up?
A story for you guys. I got tested for Corona, that good old COVID-19, 2 days ago, I think. Yeah, 2 days ago. Because I found out that they are doing tests for free close to where I live.
Did they do like the drive-by thing? Like, did you not have to leave your car?
Yeah, dude. I'll walk you through it. But first,
okay.
The reason I went was because, I mean, obviously, if you're not experiencing any symptoms, you probably shouldn't go and waste people's time. And you have to like call to set up an appointment anyways. And they ask you what your symptoms are. And if you don't have any, they'll probably be like, "You're an idiot. What are you doing here?"
Honestly, surprised they let you go because you only had like the one symptom.
Well, it was more than one. It's a couple, but it's not the main like fever and sore throat. I don't have those. But I did have for a while and still occasionally like chest pains and shortness of breath, and frequent enough to, well, I mean, you shouldn't be having shortness of breath on a regular basis anyways. It was strange, and I was like, this is not normal. And when I first originally went to get it checked up on like over a month ago, they said that it was like inflammation of the lungs, and I was like, well, that's usually caused by something viral. So they said that it could be Corona. So anyways, I was like, well, I'll go get checked. It's free. I'm not doing anything else anyways. Might as well go. Okay, so you get there, and yeah, there's a bunch of cop cars. It's at the fairgrounds, by the way.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, and they have it's just a drive-through, so you basically go through the parking lot, and only one car is like allowed in a different like section at a time. So like, there's a cop at the front, and they like wave you in. They make sure you have your like confirmation number and your ID, and you pull up. They give you a tissue, and they're like, "We need you to blow your nose into this." And that's not the test. They just want you to clear out your sinuses, I guess. So like,
because they do the nose thing. Oh, you got the nose thing done. Cool.
So they're like, this is trash. With it, roll up your window because I'm in my car. Don't just blow all over me, roll up your window.
If you don't have a car, can you not get tested for Corona?
Maybe not, dude.
I was just trying to figure out how they would do that.
If that's not segregation, I don't know what is.
Wow.
Get it together. Get it together. But you could just go on your horse,
Thanks,
horse and buggy. Horse and bugs,
You don't
just
have a car, but you have a horse and buggy.
Horse and bugs, dude. Just trot on in there, and
I'm pretty sure you could buy a car for cheaper than you could buy a horse and buggy.
But gas, dude. You ain't got to gas up that horse.
Have you seen oat prices recently?
Them oat prices. At this rate, them gas prices are lower than them oat prices. I tell you what,
you
dude.
saw. Sorry, not to go on for too much of a tangent, but you saw that like oil was like negative $40 yesterday.
Yeah, something crazy like that. And I saw somebody.
Still don't understand how that works.
I don't either. And I also saw.
I was like, can I get paid to get oil?
Give me $40
just send
and I'll
here, man. Thanks for the 40.
I'll take a barrel of oil off your hand. Just throw me the cash. I got space.
Well, what if I bought 100 barrels of oil? Made $4,000, and then a truck like 3 weeks from now shows up at my house and just drops off 40 barrels of crude oil.
I would come over and steal a lot of it from you.
What would you do with crude oil? That's not gas. You can't do that. What are you gonna do with that?
Then you sell it back to it's stock, bro. You sell it back to the people when it goes up.
No, you can't sell it, bro, because it's worth negative $40.
That's what I'm saying. When it goes back up, oil's gonna go back up. It's not gonna be gone forever.
I don't even know. Who would you go to? You like get online to like, oh yeah, I want to sell some oil. Yeah, great. Where is it? In my backyard.
I mean, you could figure it out,
I'll just drive down to my local Texaco and just be like, hey, I got some oil.
I got some oil for you. Anyways, so pull up, and blew my nose I didn't have to blow my nose. So have you ever tried to blow your nose when you don't have to blow your nose? Because my eye felt like it was gonna pop out.
Let me try it right now.
No, but you have to
Yeah,
like
I
blow
would-
into something. So there has to be some kind of like what's the word? Like blockage of air on one side and you blow the other side, you know? In my eyeball on the
I don't do
right side
that.
of my
Just go
face,
full
I
cannon.
felt air coming out of the lid of my eyelids. dude. Like my eyeball, I thought was gonna pop out of my head. And I pull up to the next
Yeah,
testing station,
you can hurt
and
your
I'm
ears by doing that.
and I'm like, "Do I have corona?" And my eyeball's just hanging out
Just
of
like
my
out.
face, connected by the whatever it's called.
String.
That stringy
The
thing, you know?
string.
We're
Eye
idiots.
string.
We're so dumb. I feel like I know the words to these things until we
know
go to
nothing.
record, and then I'm like, I turn dumb. You click the record button and we go dumb.
Eye string.
I was gonna say cornea, but that's wrong.
That's so wrong. I'm glad.
Oh man.
Seriously,
So-
what is that? Like eye string? That's freaking me out now.
There's a name, and I'm looking it up
I
because
just Googled eye string.
okay. What'd you
Ugh.
find?
Oh, that's not it. Ugh. I don't like any of that.
Tendon that keeps eye.
You said
In-
tendon like you've never said the word before.
Well, I don't think it's a tendon.
Trocula?
That's wrong. There's no way. If there's anybody
there's
who's
no-
smart in the medical field and they're listening to us right now, I'm so sorry. Red
What is going on?
string.
Red. We don't even know
to-
it's red. That's just red in cartoons.
Oh, this is nuts. Doesn't make
It's
any
just gotta be like a
sense.
blood vessel, right, or something like that. Like it's just veins, because like
Mhm.
you have blood in your eyes.
Yeah, whatever. Regardless,
No, this is important, damn it.
it is crazy the fact that you can take your eyeball out of your head and it will
Mhm.
still just be a part of you,
I wonder what that would be like to see. You would just be looking down.
and that you could theoretically just go, "Oh, well, I got to put that back," and pop
Wait
it
a
back
minute.
in.
Is it like, fuck? I'm just now realizing I don't know how your eye moves.
I think the only reason that your eye can't move all the way to the back of your head is because of that connective tissue or whatever that is,
That
or
would
the
make
veins.
sense. But I'm
Because it
saying,
gets
like,
stopped.
okay, when you're looking around, right? What's causing the actual eyeball to move like that?
The
Exactly. What?
There's little
Blow
tiny
my
hands like shift
How
moving your
does-
eyeball.
Or eyeball move. I honestly have no clue. Oh.
Was I
Oh.
right? Are there a bunch of
No, so by this diagram, when you Google how does your eyeball move, it shows that there's actually muscles like attached to your
Oh,
eye.
you're right. And they all go
Yeah.
to that back little thing we were talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Which
So that makes
rectus,
sense, but at the same time,
bladder,
that's
that rectum, that comes from the word rectum. We got eye buttholes? Is that what I'm getting from this right now?
that's how they get rid of all that shit you're seeing,
Bro, it's the optic nerve, I think, is what it is. Which, like you
No,
were
that's-
saying, it's a nerve. Or the optic
I
nerve is
never
right behind the. Dude, I don't even know, dude. This is wild. Eyes are weird, dude.
Eyes are weird. I don't
If
like
you guys are
looking at 'em,
listening to this, which you are because you're hearing me talk,
yeah.
look up like eye diagrams.
Yeah.
I know
yeah.
we've seen this in school, but it's really weird if you like really
The
look at this.
second most frequent question after like how does your eyeball move is can you hear your eyeballs move?
All right, everybody quiet.
Who are these
Just 1
people?
second. Shh, shh, shh. Yeah, dude, you can.
You can't.
I know.
We're also wearing
Why do I
headphones,
hear
so
crunchy
take
noises
that-
when my eye
take
goes
that
left to
home-
right?
Take that 5 seconds at home. Try to hear your eyeball move. Okay.
If you need something to do during this quarantine,
Yeah.
listen to your eyeball
Let
move.
us know what you think.
When I move mine left
You've
to
heard of
right,
that
I hear a crunchy noise. Should I get that checked?
Oh god. I think you have pink eye. Yo, do you remember that episode of Codenamed Kids Next Door with the pink eye? Did you watch that?
Codenamed Kids Next Door was awesome, and
Yeah, but do you remember that one episode that was really gross?
I do, and their eyes were like all swollen and like
The
oozy.
nurse was using the pink eye to crust cake.
Oh, I remember.
How
Why was
fucking
that?
gross is that?
Why was that a
That's
thing?
so bad.
That's one of those shows that
Some dude wrote that, brought it to a Cartoon Network executive, and he said, "Yeah, sure. Those kids don't watch fucking anything, I guess."
that show is one of those shows that just like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not demonizes, but like it puts parents, I feel like older people in evil light because they're older. The whole premise of that show is
Yep.
like you're a kid and you're cool because you're a kid, and older people are garbage.
Older people suck in these. Like, don't you remember the dad was just like a silhouette that like could like light himself on fire, kind of a thing when he got angry. Like that was a very common thing in the show. Is that like if an adult got angry, they would burst into flames.
Are you sure? Are you talking about Dragon Ball Z?
No, dude, I promise. Hold on. Code name. This is the Google episode.
I might venture to say this is so far our best episode yet.
Adults catch fire. I can't spell fire. There we go.
Are you seeing an image of a man on?
Yes,
Are
father.
you really?
Father, black silhouette, he's on fire. I'm gonna drop it in Discord right quick, just so you can look at it. And I mean, Google, look at the, if you're listening, I promise. Look at that right there.
That's not the dad, dude.
That's his name is Father. What do you mean?
Wait, did
That's
we just
number
think?
one's dad.
Oh my gosh, is it really? It
Yes.
is, and I guarantee you, the whole thing of this is just he's an adult, and that's why he's the villain. Like I was saying before, but like that's the only reason. But I remember being made to think that like he was a really bad guy, and that like the dad of the main character was just evil. But is he really though?
I don't think
Doesn't
he's
make any
evil.
sense.
He's just like a kid's interpretation of like strength, right? That's why
Right.
number one always wanted to be the leader and everything, is that he's like following that method, but he's also scared of it because he's a kid.
That's deep, bro. So anyways, I went to get tested.
They also shot each other with planks of wood and shit.
So I drove up to the next, after I blew my nose, they motion you onto the next little station, and
Oh yeah, you
so
got
I
tested
drive
for
up,
corona.
so I drive up with my eyeball hanging out, and
Yeah, nice.
and they're like, okay, cool. So I obviously rolled out my window, and it's crazy because they're dressed like, and to be fair, it's fine. Like they're safe, it's smart. Like but they are dressed in like basically like full. I would say scrubs, but it's almost like a gown scrub.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
A down
Yeah,
scrub.
like, I'm sure they're just like tied around there because there's like one long apron almost. But anyways, it was a gown scrub. Obviously, they have gloves on, they have a mask, but on top of their mask, they have a, like, I'm talking the regular facial like surgical type mask that everyone's wearing now, but they have like a plastic protective shield where it like almost like a welding one, like where you put it over your forehead
Oh, yeah.
around the top of your head and then you bring it down, and it's just like a plastic riot shield type mask thing.
Yeah.
But they had that whole thing. I'm like, wow, this is crazy, bro. And like I get it because like they're shoving things up people's noses, and if they like sneeze or cough because you're shoving, it's just gonna happen, and it's gonna be like in that person's face. So I get it, because that would be gross.
God.
They probably just get sprayed every once in a while. It's like, yeah, and it's just
Okay, so how did they actually test it? Like, did they stick a thing
I
up your
drive up.
nose?
Yeah, she's like, okay, cool. So you're gonna face forward. You're gonna tilt your head back a little bit. And I also was wearing one of those just like regular like surgical face mask things because
Yeah.
I mean I'm going to a place with tests and everything else, and just going out, whatever.
Sure.
So like, cool, lower that down. So it's still like covering your mouth, but so we can get to your nose or whatever. And there was like a swab kind of, but it was like really long. Like, we're gonna put this up your nose and get a good sample. And she's like, it's got to be up there for like 10 seconds. I was like, yo, what? And
Oh, that's so weird.
yeah, but I've been to the doctor before and had to get like flu tested, where they swab the inside of your nose, and they go up, kind of far. Like they go up there a little bit, and it was a little
Gotta
uncomfortable.
tickle
But
that brain.
it was a little uncomfortable, but it really wasn't that bad when I did
Yeah.
like the flu stuff or whatever. Yo, this time, dude, felt like
they
they
got
shoved
in there.
they lit a bottle rocket and put it up my left nostril.
Damn.
They went up, and they didn't stop. Like I was like, are they about to reach my brain? And they're like, no, because your sinuses are connected to. No, that can't happen. They put it up there in my left because they did it to my left nostril. My left eye immediately like just starts watering. I was like, dude, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it. And they keep it there.
I'm
Then they
gonna
screw around a
sneeze.
little bit. They swab it a little. Oh, and she says like, yeah, if you have to like cough or sneeze from this, like turn obviously the other way and do that. But like, she didn't just like stick the swab up there and then just like let go and wait for 10 seconds. Like her hand was on it and she was like moving it a little bit to get a sample up in my brainular cavities. So
God, I'd
how
feel
am I
fucking
supposed to move? If
molested.
I move with her hand on that, yo, my nose is coming off. That's it. That's the end. I'm over. It's done.
The whole thing is coming
So
off.
so she finally takes it out, and I was like, I was like, she's like, all right, you're good. I was like, thanks. And I drive off, and bro, like, I'm basically crying, and I immediately like every part of my body just starts sweating. I was like, that was like so intense, like how far into my sinuses they went. And then for like
Ugh.
60 seconds, I felt like I was starting to feel a little nauseous. I was like, all right, I'm good. But I just had to like, if I just like, sat there and breathed, then I was good.
Breathed.
Yeah, it
That's
was
a big
intense,
yikes
dude.
for me, man.
They based it felt like they shoved like a flaming hot Cheeto right up that nose. It was rough, bro.
Yeah.
That was my
Oh
experience.
man, I do not like things in me.
Thank you, Nate.
Yeah, I found this out about myself, and so yeah, if they said like if I was going there for corona testing, they said, yeah, we're gonna stick this up your nose, I'd be like, never mind, I feel good. I feel
All right,
good.
cool. See you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder
Yeah,
how
well,
many people actually do that.
I knew they were gonna do that, and like I said, I had it done before, but this was, and maybe they just thought they needed to go in more and they didn't, but they
Did you
did.
feel a little violated? I feel like you would feel a little violated.
No, I just
Oh.
I just felt like in pain and that my eyes immediately started just welling up with juices.
Yeah.
It was not fun. But I mean it was a little bit of uncomfort for, 60 seconds or whatever, those few seconds, and then once it's done it's like blah, and then it's over. If, it's fine. I can deal with it. Haven't gotten those test results back.
You're so brave.
Not trying to, no, but I'm just saying, I'm not trying to discourage people if like you feel like garbage and you think you have it and you have free testing down the road, like might as well. So next
Wow.
episode,
Quote,
I'm gonna
unquote,
get
free
I'm
testing.
gonna
I
get
don't
Nate,
I don't endorse that message.
I'm gonna get Nate to get tested just so we can hear his side
No,
of the
not
story.
at all. Absolutely not. I will not go and do that. I'm not gonna go interact with a bunch of people who've been testing people for corona all day when I have no symptoms whatsoever.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's jump into a little bit of movie stuff. I do want to say really quickly before we get into the Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
That what? What's up?
I was doing that every time you say Lord of the Rings, I have to do the theme. So I
Okay.
just did it really quick.
Every time I say Lord of the Rings?
Bum, 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 bum. Okay, go ahead.
So I was really excited because I heard that the Venom 2 like teaser trailer or trailer was out. Did you see that?
Venom. Sorry.
Did you see that popped up anywhere?
I saw some stuff about Venom 2 being pushed back.
Well, I
didn't see a
thought
trailer.
I heard something about some kind of trailer or something or teaser or whatever. And so I went up to look at it so I could talk about it today. And obviously because I was curious, it's just, if you go on YouTube, it's like a 15-second clip of the logo showing up as like Venom, and then underneath it says
2.
Venom, I think it's There Will Be Carnage or something. I'm like,
Oh,
that's it.
God.
And it slowly like fades in. I'm like, you're just showing me the title? I don't know. It's
Are they
that's
gonna have
it.
the same guys behind the first Venom doing this one? Because I did not like Let There Be Carnage. There it is.
And I think that there is a high possibility that Tom Holland as Spider-Man might be in it, which will be interesting. But
We'll see.
that's neither here nor
Woody
there, dude.
Harrelson is the second guy in it. He's gonna be wearing that red stupid wig. I'm out. I'm
So
done.
I
don't give
did
a
see
shit.
a set photo where it was not like a crazy weird like afro type wig. It was shorter. It's still weird to see him with hair especially
At all,
red.
yeah.
Not a huge fan, but it looked a lot better than it did at the
If
end
it's
of that
Woody
movie.
Harrelson not in Cheers and he has hair, it's fucking weird, man.
Anyways, yeah, so there's that, and I also saw this thing that says,
Wait, what the hell? Andy Serkis is the director on this? Oh, that's nuts.
was he the director on the first one?
I don't think so.
So the
Definitely
second one better
remember
be good. I also saw another article that says young Thanos could appear in the Eternals. Says
Oh, I
the
don't
MC
like
Films
that.
creator.
I don't like that. When they say young Thanos, I hope they don't mean like kid Thanos.
Probably. Well, because apparently Eternals is supposed to the new. If you guys don't know, which you probably have heard of it, but the Eternals is a new MCU Marvel movie that's coming out.
Mm.
It was supposed to come out at the end of this year, but obviously things got pushed back. But it's supposed to take place over time, like over like thousands of years. So I guess there's a possibility they might show Thanos before everything happened when he's, I don't know. Just he's just going to show his affinity for shiny rocks. He's going to be playing with shiny rocks. Like, I like these. These are pretty. Which leads to the Infinity Stones.
I like Thanos a lot in the movies he's been in, which is basically just both of the Avengers movies 3 and 4. I think they should just leave him alone. I don't want to see young Thanos. There's nothing more that they can do there. I don't think.
I wonder if it's going to be like
prove me wrong if you're going to have him in there, but
just like in the movie where they were saying they in Endgame where they were talking about time travel and then going back into the past to like kill him, and they made that joke of like Thanos. Strangling him. And they're like, wow, that's dark. I'm like, what, dude? It's Thanos. Maybe there'll be a moment like that in the Eternals where they look at like something happens, like we should just kill this kid right now.
It's kind of weird. How much
they blame themselves?
I guess, I mean, Thanos seems to be much more well known in like a lot of the other worlds from like Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that. But I wonder, there's got to be places out there that just had no idea what happened, and like all of a sudden, half of people were just gone, and they were like,
oh, yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Got to be a fun time. Anyways, we'll talk more about Marvel when we get onto some Marvel topics, but I guess if you're ready, we can go ahead and jump into some rings.
Woo! Rings.
So as you guys, again, as this kind of goes on, this second episode that we're doing weekly is going to be based on, something that's going to take longer than one episode to record and talk about. So we're jumping into the world of Lord of the Rings for a few weeks here, starting with
next 3 this episode and then 2 more. We're going to be doing a whole trilogy.
Yep.
And the fun part about it is that Tyler has never seen any of the Lord of the Rings, or The Hobbit, or any of that
should we
content.
add The Hobbit to this? It's same universe. I kind of think we should at this point.
So the Hobbit is known to be then you're extending it out to be the next 5 episodes, or really, I mean, this one and then 5 more episodes.
You scared?
And The Hobbit's generally regarded to be worse.
I know, but I'm curious. After I watched Lord of the Rings,
we should do The Hobbit at some point, but maybe not right after.
I don't know. It's same universe, jumping universes. Well, we'll talk about it. About it. Me and Nate will have this fun conversation where we bicker with each other, even though I know you guys love listening to it. So, all right.
So right off the bat, I'll just say I fucking love all 3 of the Lord of the Rings movies. And it's been a while since I watched them. I'm not like as big of a fan of Lord of the Rings as I am of like Star Wars and stuff like that. That's still my like childhood bread and butter. But man, after rewatching this movie for this episode, I was like giddy. I forgot how much I like this movie in particular. Fellowship is great, but the important thing is, what do you think about it, man? First time watching it. It was today, actually. You watched it.
Yeah, I was gonna watch it last night, but ended up watching it today, which I think is better because it's more fresh. It is a movie about rings. Am I wrong?
Thanks, man. That's what they're here for, that valuable insight like that.
So it was, I don't know if it was quite everything that I hoped it would be, but it wasn't bad. If anything, it was good. Like
I mean, if you said it was bad, I would have been very, very upset with you, because it's, highly regarded as a literary masterpiece. So, I think you would have had a lot of explaining to do if you thought it was bad.
So there's some interesting things that, because it is based off a book,
Yeah.
I'm just curious as to what actually translated over and like how well it translated over and what they changed. Just out of curiosity. And I'm going based off just the movies. Like I don't really want to look at all into that until after I've seen all the movies and we talk about it just as a movie perspective because
Yeah.
I'd rather do it that way. But there are some things that I'm like, does this hold up? I don't know. And not a ton of those things, but there were a few of those moments. And this was made in 2000. It released in 2001, so it's
Yeah.
older.
Early. This is like this is like Phantom Menace level of, and this movie was only made for $93 million, which is so low
Yeah, and I don't even
for what's in this.
there are some special effects that are. I don't even mean just specifically special effects because there's some special effects that are really good. There are some that are like, okay, cool, yeah, it was 2001.
There are
But
some bad ones. Yeah, I'll give you that.
but there are some that are like, wow, that holds up like to today. One of the ones I thought was actually really good was when they were going into. I know we're going to kind of go through order, but we're just saying
Mhm.
whatever we want to say here at this point.
Sure.
I feel the right when they were going into the mines of Moria,
Yeah.
that giant like weird
Octopus
octopus kraken
monster.
squid thing
Yeah.
looked really good. I thought it looked
It
really good.
did. They definitely benefited from like setting that scene at night and
Yeah.
having like some effects, but like dealing with not only octopus monster stuff, interacting with real people, and then also water effects. I mean, they really killed it, man, on that. I'll that's for sure. I was also looking at that. I was like, man, this is probably gonna look really dated. Remembering back to that scene, and not it still holds up. It's honestly surprising. I know that a lot of this. I'm sure we both saw the what is it, Corridor Crew VFX artists react
I
to
was
thing
just gonna
where they
bring this
did.
up. Yeah.
That's a really good series. If you haven't watched it, go look them up. They do a really good. They're a bunch of VFX guys who kind of talk about how a lot of this stuff is made. So if you like that kind of behind the scenes, definitely go check that out. But they did a special episode on the Lord of the Rings movies in general, and kind of gave an insight that a lot of what you see on screen is like miniatures, kind of like how Star Wars, the original trilogy, was made,
At least
but on a much larger scale.
at least a lot of the like underground Mordor stuff. They did a lot of fly throughs
Well,
of that.
like the Elven City was like that you see is a miniature built that they kind of put Frodo in next to in that one scene where he's like looking over on the balcony. You know what I'm talking about? He
Yeah.
wakes up in Rivendell. I think
Yeah,
Rivendell, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff when they're going through, the orcs being born and all that kind of like that whole like, almost kind of like goblinish city, where they're kind of like down in Mordor. That's all miniature stuff that they flew a camera through. A lot of that kind of stuff is really dope. And yeah, obviously, the Mines of Moria as well.
I do want to say before I forget, just my thoughts are all over the place, but
Yeah.
the ending of this was not what I expected. And what I'm getting from the ending of this is like, okay, so this is just going to be one very long story without a super clear beginning or ending to any of them at this point. I mean, obviously there's a clear beginning, but at the end of this, I thought we would get a little more closure because I can't think of another movie. And I thought that maybe they would do this because I remember pausing it towards the end and I was like, there's like 10 minutes left. And they still have to put credits in there, and they're not anywhere close to Mordor. I was like, this is gonna end on a cliffhanger for sure. And I knew that it's like a series, so I figured it would end on some sort of cliffhanger. But it's just very.
To be fair, they're actually closer to Mordor than you think they are.
No, I know they are. At the end, he really is. But I'm talking like 15 minutes before it actually was supposed to like the end of the movie runtime. I was like, they still have to do credits. They're not going to have time to once they get to Mordor. There's a lot they're going to have to do once they get there.
Right.
That's their whole task. Getting to Mordor is part one. So I'm like, it's that whole thing's not going to be over. So I was thinking like, I don't know. I can't really think of another movie or even like movie series that has a movie within it that ended as openly as this did. With like, here's the quest, and we're kind of almost to the final part of the quest, but not quite. Movie's over now. So it's just weird because like the main, obviously the fellowship, the main gang gets split up basically, and they kind of both have their own goals now and their own objective, and then it's left from that. which is interesting. I appreciate it because it's different, and it makes you really want to go watch the next one. But I just thought that was interesting.
So I just I'm curious what about it? I guess I mean having never watched Lord of the Rings, it's such like a kind of iconic thing that's been talked about and memed a lot and all this kind of different stuff. Which I'm curious. I mean, were you kind of like when you saw the meme bits, were you like, oh my gosh, that's the meme?
There was a couple of those, yeah. But
Yeah,
what's
I
your
was just
question?
Oh, my
Did I
main
notice
question
the meme
though
part?
is
Yeah, I
that
did.
I guess it's very hyped up and it's so it feels like I guess it could maybe never have reached the expectations that you had of it since everyone said it was so good and that when you watch you'll be blown away and that when you finally did, I guess you didn't quite feel like that. Is there anything specific that you didn't like about it that you could say? Um
Yes. So, let's see. I'm trying to
cuz I am surprised that
compartmentalize.
you don't like it. I really thought this would be
I
right
didn't say
up
I
your
didn't
alley.
like it. I didn't say I didn't like it.
Ah, okay.
I just said there were
Well,
parts that it just wasn't 100% of what I guess thought it would be, which is not necessarily bad, but it
yeah.
also wasn't quite as good. I feel like as I wanted it to be either. Just enjoyment wise, not that it's not a good movie, for the most part or anything like that. It's just
Right.
it wasn't, and yeah, maybe part of it does have to do with obviously it's this giant series that I haven't seen, and it took me way too long to start watching. So I really built it up, and everybody else built it up because that's a thing. Um,
Yeah.
but there are just some parts, and I tried like I told myself because sometimes when I watch movies to review on here and or just to talk about on the podcast,
Right.
I will take notes while I'm watching it so I don't forget like key points.
Sure.
And especially with something like Lord of the Rings, there's something for a very long time that I'm like, I'm gonna watch this. I'm excited because I really want to watch them. I just never have. I told myself, I said, screw the notes. I'm doing this because I want to enjoy this. And I try to do it with
Right.
every movie. The reason we do this podcast because we enjoy movies. But I wanted to go push it a step further to the part of like, I don't even want to be interrupted by like pausing it to take down notes. And I was like, maybe that'll be harder with putting, making myself remember what points to talk about. But I was like,
Sure.
I'm not going to take notes. I'm just going to enjoy it. Like I'm just sitting down. And I'm just going to watch this because I've been wanting to watch it for so long. Well, about halfway through, I broke,
You
and I
started taking
started taking,
notes.
yeah, I started taking notes just because there were certain parts that I did want to mention, um, and there are some moments in the movie where it's like, but why? And I feel like we talk about this with other movies. You're like, why did that person do that? That doesn't make any sense. Um, and
Okay.
and I don't want to be too like nitpicky here because again, I didn't want to watch this movie in eyes like the eyes of I'm trying to nitpick this because even when we try to review movies, I think we should review movies based on not just going in and trying to nitpick it, but just going in, enjoying it, and then your
No,
actual
yeah.
true feelings on it. Like that's what we try to do. Um,
That can off I feel like oftentimes when I feel like we're talking about something that I should kind of not like, like putting myself on a high horse, like, ooh, I like better movies than this garbage. Like sometimes you can fall into that trap of like, I'm gonna look at this and try and find every little problem with it. And I try not to do that. I've definitely done that before. But yeah, I get what you mean. But if you have any valid complaints, then yeah, like hit me
right.
up with them, dude.
So
I'd
for
love
example, when and I'm trying to remember before I started taking notes because obviously where I have or points.
Yep.
So one example is when the wraiths are chasing the they're chasing Frodo and them and
The
Aragorn,
Nazgul.
who they call
Strider.
Strider
Mhm.
at the beginning. And then they run into I can't remember her name, but the elf who helps and basically takes Frodo because he's injured and takes him back to
Yes.
get healed.
Mhm.
So she's riding with like while holding him, and there's like 9 wraiths or however many of them there are, chasing them, and they cross the river,
Yep.
and then she makes the river like the giant tide, like the wave come through to like
Mhm.
wash them away to get away. And
Sure.
the wraiths see the water, and then they turn and start running downriver. They don't run back or continue to go forward where it's going to a shore. They run downriver. where I'm like, what are you like that? Like that was one of those moments where you go, why are you doing this? And
No one
that
said
does
they were smart wraiths.
stop it. You have that's a common sense thing. No,
No, yeah, that's a classic movie thing of having, the whatever, even if it's the hero running away or the bad guy running away from something where they should just cut left or right, but instead they run forward, for whatever reason.
yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
And I think
I mean,
I
that's
think those are a couple of those things that I'm mentioning as those classic movie things that is like those don't feel like they hold up well because if you just do something dumb that doesn't make sense, I'm not again trying to watch it nitpick, but I notice those things just because as a watcher, I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
yeah.
Um there were some of those throughout this movie. And again, I think that also has to do with like a movie made in 2001, I think might be more prone to have those in there than one recently. Would you agree with
Yeah,
that?
no, I totally get what you mean. Yeah, I think that's true. There's it's almost like there are these older kind of expectations when you're making a movie that you just kind of fall into these very classic traps. What I forgot about this movie that I've kind of rediscovered is that like there are so many times in this where they do this weird thing that I don't feel like you see all that often anymore, where you do that weird slow motion that feels like it's just missing frames.
It's a s
Um,
they're
and
not filming
the
yeah.
audio is normal speed, but what you're seeing is like this weird choppy slow-mo missing frame stuff. It's
What it
very
yeah.
strange, and it was like it's so now it's we're getting on to being 20 years old now, this movie, and that whole style feels so dated.
Well, because
That
it
I do
looks like
think
what they're doing is filming it in regular frames per
speed
second.
and then just literally taking out frames.
Well, not taking out frames, they're just slowing the rate at which like, they're slowing everything down. They're not filming because in standard, like, slow motion, you film it in more frames
In a
per second,
higher frame per second.
and
Yeah,
then you
yeah,
play
yeah.
it back at the normal playback rate.
Right.
But if you just film it at the same example, if you go into iMovie and you put in something that you filmed not in slow motion, you just film regularly, and then you
Yeah.
just take that little slider and drag it down to the turtle, it doesn't look good because it's very choppy. It's just slowing the amount of time that it takes to get from one frame to the next, which is not the case. The frames still should go at the same rate. There's just more of them, so it appears slower. So
Right.
that's what it seems like they did because I noticed those, but I didn't give that one that too much of criticism because I was like, it's an older movie. Slow mo was not as prevalent. I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking a lot. I know that I probably have some more to say here since I've seen it for the first time. But if you have anything, just cut me off. I do want to say
Um,
another one of those moments real quick before we go on,
sure.
move on from those type of moments, is when the Fellowship, that group, was first getting together and they were all sitting around with the ring and trying to decide who to take it. Basically, like someone has to take it to Mordor and destroy it. And then
Right.
immediately, Legolas, he's like,
Correct.
"I'll take it." And then there was an argument, and they're like, "I'll never let." I think. I know that the what is his name? I'm blanking on it. The dwarf. What was his name?
Oh, Gimli.
Gimli. He was saying like, "I'll never let an elf take it," and then another character. Anyways, all these characters were basically arguing over the fact of who was going to take it,
Yeah.
and the guy who was saying like, "Oh, why don't we just use it for our power, or use the power to defeat them?"
Boromir.
So all this stuff is happening, and they got mad because they didn't want an elf to take it, and then this other person they didn't want them to. They didn't trust anybody,
Sure,
and
sure,
then
sure, sure.
all of a sudden, Frodo goes, "I'll take it," and they're like, "Okay." What? It made no sense. There was no reason for them to be okay with him wanting to take it, and they're just like, "We'll go with you and protect you." It's like, why didn't you
Well,
just do that when
that's
Legolas
not
said, "I'll take the ring," and you just go, "Well,
necessarily
I'll go with you to make sure it goes there, and you do the right thing with it, or
so.
that you can actually
Hold on.
do it."
Frodo's whole thing, the entire reason that Frodo's important in this movie is that he doesn't seem to have the corruptibility that other character like everyone else does by this ring. He's
But the
not
other
corrupted by
people
greed.
don't know him. They
They
just met
do
in this
no,
circle.
no, 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 no. There's a conversation between Hugo Weaving, I can't remember his name, and Gandalf when Frodo first arrives, said that has that exact conversation.
Yes, you are correct with those 2.
Yeah.
Everyone else
Mhm.
meets in a circle, and they're deciding who to take it, and they get
Well, everyone else
frustrated.
doesn't well, Boromir wants it, but he wants it for the wrong reason. And everyone else doesn't actually want to take it. They're trying to figure out they're trying to put it on somebody
Legolas
else,
wanted
but
to
they
take
don't
it.
actually wanna hold it themselves.
Legolas immediately he's like a valiant person. You could tell that he was like, "I wanna take this ring, I'll take." He immediately was the first person to say, "I'll take it." There were people offering to take it, and they had a bad reason to not, and they didn't even like, I'm cool if they were more okay with Frodo taking it, but there were no questions. It was immediate to help him. It was very off to me, that
From
scene,
what I
for some
remember, that
reason.
that conversation was all about that whole council wasn't about people signing up to take it. Like Gimli didn't say he was going to take it. Aragorn wasn't like I'll take it. Gandalf certainly wasn't. I mean, everyone was like like I can't take it. Like that's what I remember from it.
Well, I
I
know
don't
Legolas
know.
definitely said that he would take it. I know 100% that he was the first person to offer up and say that he would take it. Now, maybe the arguments around that were slightly different, but it just seems strange to me that they were just so okay with it.
Well,
And
if
maybe
you
I'm reading it
remember
wrong. Maybe I'm reading
when
it wrong.
Hugo Weaving's character, he was the one who wanted to put, and he was kind of in charge a little bit. He's like head elf. He was trying to put it on Frodo. He was basically saying we need Frodo to do it, and
Oh yeah, yeah, I
Gandalf
know
was
that.
like we should have. So I mean, it makes sense in the overall thing. It's just basically you're upset that there wasn't like an extra line of dialogue that was like, no, Frodo should take it over Legolas because Frodo has shown that he doesn't get corrupted by the ring. We don't know if Legolas will.
No, well, not even just them saying it. I want them to question why should we let him take it? Like, it's one thing to
Sure.
take the ring from his hometown, from the Shire to where they were, to Ravendale, but it's another thing to take it into the fires and depths of Mordor, the like home
Well, I mean,
place
yes and
of
no. It was
evil,
already kind of
and
established that
destroy
they
it.
were all gonna go,
But
right?
no, well, not
So
necessarily.
whoever
No, they
holds in
said
their
we need to
hand
decide
doesn't
who.
really.
No, they said we need to decide who wants to take it, and then everyone else just offered up that they would go with, and he goes, okay, 9 companions. You guys are the
Okay, well,
Fellowship
fair
of the
enough.
Ring."
It was established that it wasn't gonna be a solo guy. Like, if
They
Legolas
did
had
not
decided to take
establish
it, they
that when we
weren't.
watched the movie,
No,
brother.
but come on, I mean, think about it. Were they gonna let Legolas go by himself? No, come on. You're being too rough now. That's a little ridiculous.
At the
That
end
you
of the no, I'm hey, look, hey, again, I know people, including you, might get frustrated at some things I have to say. I'm just giving my true opinion based on this movie, and if I get flack for it, that's fine. But
Well, I
when
mean,
I
I'm just
watched
saying
it,
that's
that
way
scene
too.
seemed very for me, and you're talking to somebody that I feel like when we talk about these kind of movies, you have more like intricacies with weird moments like that. But it just seemed off. And again, you've seen this movie many times, so I'm not saying that you're right or
Hello?
wrong, or that
Oh,
you are wrong because of this,
oh.
but you've seen it more times, so maybe you're inclined to go along with it. Or maybe I looked into it too much, or I didn't perceive the scene how I should have. That's totally possible. I'll give you that.
It's
I'd have to watch it again.
I could say that it may be. I'd have to rewatch the scene to be 100% sure, to make sure that Legolas actually did offer himself up, and there wasn't and
Oh, that part I
Hugo
know.
Weaving
I
basically
could literally
Hugo Weaving might have said like, "No, no, elves can't take it," or you might have said something like that. I don't
no,
know.
no, it wasn't
And
him. It
I'll
was
go
the
over
dwarf, and then they got into an argument. I will give you $100 if Legolas didn't offer himself up. I know that part happened. I know.
right.
But anyways, again, this
Yeah,
whole conversation is not to like. I think it's great that we don't necessarily agree because this isn't like us trying to agree and then make a concise decision about something. It's I'm giving my honest opinions about
sure,
where
sure.
I'm at with it. So it's which I think is very interesting for people who are very big fans.
Yeah, I'm
And
just
I'm not
trying to
saying that
break
I'm
it
not a
down
fan.
because I mean I'm on the other side, obviously, and I just think that when at the end of the day, what you're complaining about is a incredible if it's valid, which I'm not entirely sure because I mean I watched this movie last night. That's when I rewatched it, and I'm trying to remember that scene specifically, and I can't quite remember how everything went down, so I can't verify or 100% say that you're wrong. But so if everything you said is right, it's still basically just a complaint about there being like a small lack of like questioning it. Like if Legolas had said, "Wait, I had just offered myself. Why can't I take it?" Then and some reason had been given, you would be fine,
Well, again,
right?
it's not why Legolas can't. It's why are they just letting him go without any
Right, that's
question?
what I said. If
It's a
Legolas
big
had said the
mission.
word, "Why can't I take it?" and then someone had given a reason why he couldn't, and he had been fine with that, then you'd be
But
okay,
again,
right?
it's less about why he can't and more about why Frodo can. That's all I'm saying. But my point is
We already
too,
know
it's
why
like
Frodo
you
can.
say I feel like if this were like the other way around, you say it's such a small thing, but that letting basically Frodo go, who is like the main character of this, and I understand why he went. Like I get it. It just I get it from a viewer perspective. I want I don't want the characters to jump onto something because they understand the audience understands it. That's all I'm saying. And maybe again,
No,
I'm
but the
prefacing this with the fact that maybe I read into the scene a little bit wrong. And again, I'll probably end up rewatching this movie at some point. But
yeah.
that the fact that they did decide for him to go is a huge part of the movie. So it is a
Well,
big, you know,
so I mean, but it still makes sense because one, Frodo's entire character is based around the entire reason he's the main
again,
character is because of this one character trait is that he can't be corrupted basically
I
by the ring.
agree. Again, I'm
Seemingly.
just saying I don't
So
want the audience as an audience, I understood that. I don't want the
right, the
characters to
audience
jump on
understands it, but the
something.
characters also understand that, with the exceptions of a few. But you could even say that they already know this because he'd already carried it from the Shire to Rivendell. So
Yep.
he had already proved that that journey by itself. Think about everything they know about this ring. It corrupts all. The most valiant guy they knew almost 3,000 years before that, the ancestor of Aragorn was like the noble warrior who beat Sauron, and he even was corrupted by the ring's power. So it's assumed that everyone is, and so they find one guy who can. It's if he offers himself up, we're gonna take it. That it
Right.
just
And
makes
that's
sense.
again,
It
no,
almost
I agree with that.
yeah,
I'm just all I'm saying is
and all the
uh
characters know that. They all know that history,
right, but that's so that's what I'm saying
so it makes
is
sense that they're okay with it.
calm down, dude. So
No, I'm not upset. I'm just saying I'm just defending the position.
no, I
That's all.
understand. No, what
Yeah.
I'm saying is basically I understand what you're saying 100% and I agree. And as in like that totally makes sense. And if I watch again probably be like, "Oh, this makes more sense." Um it does seem like, they understand it. They know that. They were probably trying to find somebody else. He was there, he had the ring, so he presented it to everybody and they were probably trying to take this, the weight of having to bear that off of him and give it to one of these warriors. And then once he's like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it. They're like, okay, cool. That's what we needed anyways. We'll go with you, obviously, to help you.
Yep.
Yeah, obviously, like I get it. That makes sense. I understand it 100%. I get it. I'm just letting you know how I perceived it the first time I watched it. And I probably glanced over something like minute, um, ways that they were acting that made it very apparent that they all understood that. That's not what I got from it. I'm just telling you what I got from it. That's
True.
all.
Yeah. I mean,
So you're
I'm just
probably
defending the
100%
position.
right.
I'm
I'm
not
just
mad
saying,
at you. Yeah. Okay. So, but I think one thing that we can both agree on: music in this movie is kick ass, bro. Holy shit.
I
Yes.
I didn't notice the music that much.
What?
There were some
I
points,
can't.
especially going into like when they were in the mines, that were some cool music parts. But
So there's a couple big themes that are like used many times, and that are like there's like the Hobbits theme. That's probably not the exact name of it, but it's like when they show the Shire, or like when Frodo and Sam have like an integral moment, they'll be like the that kind of like the soft flute kind of that kind of thing, which is used a lot, which is really good.
I have a
And
question.
then you have like the darker orc thing, like the evil kind of theme that's like ba-na-num, bum bum bum, that kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about? Like
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
you
I mean, yeah, and
yeah.
I think that it would have been even more apparent if I was able to. I mean, maybe I should have like turned it up a little more. Not that I couldn't hear it, but if I had seen this like
Watch
in a
this on your
theater,
phone.
I love being able to see things in a theater because I feel like the
Yeah,
sound affects you even more. So it would have been great to
sure.
see it in a theater. Um, so
You watched this movie on your phone, didn't you?
no, I did not watch the movie on my phone. Definitely
I
not.
just mess with you. No, but like, oh man, and then obvious, yeah.
I do have a question
I
though.
mean, I think it's pretty. I don't think I'm alone in this, that the music in this, in this whole trilogy, especially since you took a series of books that were written a good long while ago, and you're trying to transcribe them into, film and all this different media, and you're writing music for something that's never even been spoken or had any kind of vocalization or sound to it at all. And when you kind of think of that, like, it's, oh man, Howard Shore did such a great job of like giving the music emotion and like identity to all the different parts of this movie. That's just me. I
No,
don't
I
know.
love. I really I can appreciate like really good music, and
Mhm.
I now that you've said that, I'm kind of upset that I didn't pick it out more. Um, which I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means like, oh, maybe it's not as good in my opinion as it is to you, which again is just that's very opinion based too. I feel like, well, yes and no. I feel
Well,
like
when I
it can
watch it,
be.
you know what I mean? I'm probably not like I can understand, right? So like this movie has a if you know nothing about Middle Earth or Lord of the Rings or any of the
I got
universe,
to
it
follow all
has
the stuff
so
that's being
much.
said.
It's an information dump. It's a ridiculous amount of stuff that they're trying to put onto you. So I can understand why, if you're just, especially if you're expected to talk about it on a podcast, if you're just focusing on trying to keep straight what's going on and who people are, and you don't necessarily have enough time to remember the music. 'Cause I'm watching it from like the fifth time, where it's like, I mean, I'm not so worried about remembering what happens. I know what happens, and I'm just thinking about like looking at shots and kind of like, remembering the music and that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, no, that is probably
So I
part of
get
it.
it. Yeah.
Another moment for me was when they were they're on their way to Mordor, and they went over the mountains through the snow, and there was
Yep.
basically a wizard battle happening across the land.
Yeah.
Um,
Wizard voice battle.
yeah, which is dope. But he made the snow fall on top of them, and then
Yep.
they obviously they made
There's like
a
there's like
reroute.
15 seconds where it's just kind of like, are they dead? You know what I mean?
Well, I
Like,
knew they weren't dead, but
no, they're not dead, but it's just showing snow covering all of them for like a couple seconds, and it's
right.
just hilarious. Like, no one's moving. It's just like, I was just thinking to myself, watching it from the first time, I was like, and that's where it ends right
Yeah.
there.
Another thing I was thinking is so another one of those things that I was like, but really? Because was when they were going through the mountains, because they were going through the snow mountains for a while, because they showed it when it was during the day, and they were like on top of the mountains, and that was when, um, what is his
Saruman starts fucking
Boromir
up with,
was
oh yeah.
grabbed the ring for the first time, and he's like, give it back to Frodo, and he does. You know what I'm talking
Oh
about?
yeah, yeah.
And they were
That's
in
a little bit before, but yeah.
Yeah, but they were in the snow at that point. My point is that was the daytime they were in that. They were hiking through that for a while, and then they're on the mountain and it was nighttime, and then all the snow fell on them.
Yep.
So they were there for a while, and I felt like none of them looked prepped for any sort of super cold winter like excavation. Maybe that's not their word. Adventure, and they didn't seem like. And maybe this is, and I think maybe this has to do with acting a little bit, because I do really appreciate like really good acting. So maybe that's where I
Mhm.
picked this part out. I felt like they didn't really seem to act like the cold was bothering them at all. Where some of them, and again, these are some of these are mystical creatures. They're not all just humans. There are a couple humans, but they're not all just
Yep.
straight up humans. There's elves, there's halflings. So maybe they're makeup,
Hobbits.
they're more accustomed to be able to survive those kind of things and not bother them. I don't know all the lore behind all the different races and stuff, but they were just in their regular clothes going through snow covered mountains, and then a blizzard and an entire thing of snow got dumped on them, and they didn't think that that wasn't enough until the end when they were being kind of attacked, um to turn around and find a different way. There's like, we're just going to go through this, and it didn't seem like it affected them like it really should have.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because and it makes it even worse because, none of the hobbits, not halflings. Halfling is a half racist term. None of the hobbits are wearing any shoes the entire time.
Oh yeah, that's another thing I was going to say. They're not wearing shoes, and that's what I'm. Yeah, yeah,
Which, I mean,
exactly.
they have pretty hairy feet. It's a trait of theirs, but still, yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you could say, oh well, yeah, they're magic, like everything's different in this world, like they don't care about cold, but that's never explained in the movie. Certainly they
Right.
never say like, oh, I don't care about the cold, I'm a little hobbit, hee hee hee, like they never say that. So it's a problem because this movie's already like 2 minutes shy of 3 hours long, and there's so much for them to explain, and it's kind of one of these weird things where like, should they maybe have done something a little bit different for the cold? Probably, yeah. I'll give you that. That it's a little bit of a an odd spot. Um,
And I don't think, again, I just act. If anything, well, you could have fixed it by, like, I feel like having them act like it bothered them more. I didn't see a
yeah,
single one of them during that whole time, except for towards the end when the snow was falling on them and stuff, really shivering or acting like it like was bothering them.
yeah, like it
Um,
mattered. Yeah,
and again, and for everybody listening who loves Lord of the Rings, I'm not trying to come at this as like nitpicking. It's just something that I noticed as far as like just even just watching it in general. I'm like, yo, they're walking through some gnarly snow-covered mountains and they're just like chilling. I'm like, what's going on?
yeah. I mean, they're okay. So even if you are a big fan of Lord of the Rings, like bigger than me, like diehard fan, you have to like recognize that there are some parts in the movies, at least, can't speak on the books because I know neither of us have ever read them, that have some of these like little weird issues in them. Like I know there's a really memed part of, I think it's either Two Towers or the Return of the King. Don't worry, it's not a spoiler. An orc basically says the phrase, "Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys." And now, of course, this doesn't make any sense because how has an orc ever seen a menu or knows what that is or expects other orcs to know what that is? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
So
that
there's
that
gonna be
doesn't even.
there's a bunch of little of those, and that's basically what this is, right? It's
Well,
another
yes,
one of these.
yes and no. The reason I would think this specific one is bigger is because it's throughout a decently lengthy sequence and affects their travel. That one line is a dumb line,
Mhm.
but it's like that's a dumb line, and you can get over it because it's a specific joke of a line, and nothing of what that joke is of meats back on the menu really affects the rest of the story. Whereas that instance of them having to travel through snow covered mountains affects the story a little more. So again, it's not
It doesn't
groundbreaking.
really
It's not
affect the
groundbreaking.
story
What's up?
because it's not like if they
Yes,
had
it is.
if the
To tell
well,
me,
hold on. Okay, go ahead.
no, no, you go.
I was gonna say because here's the solution, right? You just have them wearing other clothing, and the movie, the rest of the plot goes about the same. It's not, and they already had like that little horse Bill the horse who's carrying like extra stuff for them up until the Mines of Moria, obviously. But like, so it's not like, oh, where'd they get this other clothing from? Like that could have easily been explained away. So I don't think that really, it doesn't change the story at all that they didn't have warm clothing on to help with that cold. It's just they just didn't. It's almost just, oops, we forgot, but it doesn't change anything. If they had warm clothing, it wouldn't have changed the story. And if they didn't, well, it wasn't any different
So I
anyway.
think
So
so to kind of explain what I mean is I think
yep,
for me a movie, obviously I've said this a lot on the podcast, I like when a movie makes me feel things, like pulls out emotions, but really what I think a movie should do is you should be invested in a movie. You should
yep,
not have moments. I think it's very detrimental to a movie if you have moments that pull you out of the movie.
yeah, I
And
agree.
I just think that this, again, yes, that's why I'm saying like there are easy fixes, but it's having an easy fix doesn't mean
It
is
does
something
pull you
is.
out of the movie. I agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
So
I
that's all
totally
I'm
agree.
saying is
You notice these things, but that for at the same point, when you hear an orc say
no.
"meat's back on the menu, boys," it can pull you out just as much as not seeing the more warm clothing and the
But
cold.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting to. So for
Yeah,
me,
that's why I'm comparing them, is because they're the
no, I
same.
know, but I'm trying to explain that to me, they compare differently. So, yes, they can both pull you out, but what I meant by their small things, because, yeah, it's not a huge thing. It's not like I hate this movie because of that scene. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, for example, that instance of them going through the snow pulls me out more. And this could be all again, I'm just going off base of my opinion of me watching it for the first
Yeah,
time.
that's
And
pretty
plus,
subjective. I don't know if you could necessarily defend that in
no,
an objective
my
way.
dude. Part of this whole episode is me being subjective about this movie. I'm going to
Yeah,
tell people how
for
I
sure.
think about it and why I think the
Fine.
way I think. That's fun to me. Hearing people talk about why they think they either they do or don't like a movie, regardless if it's objective or subjective. I like to hear their opinions on it and why. So
Right.
so yes, I agree that it might pull out someone out more of the movie to hear that orc say that line, and it might pull me out just as much when I watch it because I haven't gotten to that movie yet. I don't know, but
Yeah.
based on what I think and what I think I know, as far as hearing that line, I think that there are things that can take you out more, and just because something is an easy fix, even if it's just as easily fixed as something else, doesn't mean that they're on the same level. If that line and them walking through the snow can be fixed as easily, doesn't mean they're the same amount of taking you out of the movie. And again, that's all subjective based. Something might take you out more than the other, but to me,
Yeah.
having having a group like not seem to act like it's affecting them that much when it's a extended part of a movie versus a one line affects me more because it's happening for a longer amount of time and seems to affect it more. And it's just as easy of a fix to have clothes as it is to have that orc not say that line. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just
I
my
thought
opinion on it.
when you brought this up, I thought what you were gonna say was that it was weird that they just go straight from being all the way up on on these misty mountains, and then they say, "Let's take the mines," and then they have to go all the way back down and
Yeah,
go
that
through the
sucks,
mines of
dude.
Moria, which is a huge detour.
Yeah, but that's just something they
And
could
then just
again.
get
Why would you
straight
show that
to
in the movie? Again, it's like you said, it's a long
It's
movie. Why
not
would you show that?
necessarily that you would show it, it's just it feels it should have been a bigger thing because, like, I'm literally looking at the map of Middle-earth right now, and I'm looking at the route that they took, through the movie, and when you can see on the blue line that shows where they got up to the point where the snow fell on them, and then they have to go so far
Yeah,
back
it
to get
sucks.
through the mines. I mean, some of it's still moving technically forward, but you know what I mean. It's a lot of backtracking. So if anything, it should have but
And I want to quickly jump in here in the middle of us talking a
Yep.
little more in depth about everything to say I love fantastical, like mythical type and even like medieval type, like this type of movie.
Fantasy setting, yeah.
I love that kind of stuff. I do.
Yep.
So and I am also saying that I did not dislike the movie. I liked the movie. That's not what I'm
Mm.
saying at all. I'm just making that clear for all of you guys listening. That it's like, this boy's just tearing us apart, and he doesn't even like. It's like, no, I love this idea and this style of movie, and this was a good movie. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Like, it's not something that I can just be like, well, I'll just never know what happens because I don't care enough to watch the next movie.
If
Like,
it
I'm gonna watch this next movie.
if it changes anything, Fellowship is often known, from what I remember anyway, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but Fellowship, I think, is often known as,
I
like, the
wouldn't know.
slowest one? I know not you personally, yeah. And then it's almost kinda like Star Wars where, like, Fellowship is kind of like the beginning, but kind of slow a little bit. It's kind of like New Hope comparison, and then Two Towers and Empire are kind of like the best of the trilogy, and then like Return of the King and Return of the Jedi. Wow, okay, I just realized that. They're kind of known as like a little bit maybe on the silly side, like maybe a little bit too like crazy. Um, honestly, I'm excited to watch Two Towers and Return of the King again just to make sure if I solidify that opinion because
Yeah.
I can't 100% remember. But
And to be fair,
um,
going back and looking at A New Hope, because I've seen that recently, I can
yeah,
totally see me having the same reaction that I'm having with this movie with A New Hope. And I really like Star Wars. But I
yeah,
can see myself having a similar reaction of hearing how big Star Wars is and then going back and watching, be like, that was good. I'm very excited to see where it goes. I definitely have issues with it, but I'm not, going to be too hard because one, it's an older movie, and we're talking about both these here, and Star Wars is a lot older than Lord of
yeah.
the Rings is, but it's an older movie. It's not like 100% perfect, but that doesn't mean it can't be good. And you like the idea and where it's going, and you kind of have to like watch, especially with this movie, because like I said, it ends in such a way where it goes right into the next. And it's very
Yeah.
different than any other series like that because like Star Wars has a very definitive ending for the first Star Wars. Granted, they
Oh
weren't
yeah.
necessarily planning on making more at that point, but
And they knew
you know
with
what I'm
these three that they're making all three, but
saying? Right. So, but my point is, it's especially for this series, but I think it would be the same if I like was starting to watch Star Wars now. Is I feel like I have to watch that trilogy and then kind of come back to of like what I kind of feel about all of it as a whole, which is why I'm excited that this is a series based, episodic podcast that we're doing now. for this because I get to. I think I am excited for you guys to follow my journey with Lord of the Rings. Like it's really cool because like I've been wanting to watch it for so long, and the fact that I can like share that to some extent, even no matter how many people are actually gonna to listen and follow along. But I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
excited. It's cool to me.
No, it is cool. And I like hearing, I mean, I was excited about doing this just to hear your basically your take on it, having never seen it before. I mean, as a fan, I want you to love it. But as someone who's talking movies with you, I like that we're having this kind of like
Yeah.
a little bit of a back and forth about it as well.
I'm trying to think next for our next series. I want to try to find a series that I've watched and you haven't, which will be
Yeah, good luck.
hard. But I'm going to see what I can do. Because I love showing people things. Like that's why I see movies
Oh, it is
over and
fun,
over
yeah.
in theaters. Is I like going with people who haven't seen it because I love to talk to them about it after and even watch
Yeah.
the reaction as they're watching it. I love that. I
Right.
love it. Um,
No, yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
Do you have anything specific? Because I mean I have more, but
I was just gonna say, man, I love how badass everybody is in this movie. Like everybody is in their own way, some kind of little badass. I mean, except for maybe some of the hobbits,
yeah.
but
Can I say
especially Merry and Pippin.
Can I say one thing and then let you go off on that
Yeah.
because that's a positive, and I want to drop one more thing that kind of I noticed that bothered me a little bit, and then go into positives
Sure.
because there are a lot of positives. Like I do like the movie.
Yep.
So one of those things is the hobbits. I understand their purpose, and I understand. Okay, let's just say that what I'm basically trying to get to is that they at times, not all the time, but at times they seemed like they're causing trouble throughout the movie a little
Yeah.
too much for me
Merry and
at certain times. Like, yeah, I felt like that's the thing is I have to go back and see if it was just that specific character because I didn't pay that much attention to the side
Well, it's
characters
two
with
of
the
them.
Hobbits.
So there's Frodo obviously, and then there's Sam. Sam is Sean Astin. You've seen him in other stuff. He's
Right.
the guy who will never leaves Frodo's side basically. And then there's the other two who were
Yeah, and I
like
didn't really
the
pay attention to who was who when they were saying when it came to the other two. To be honest with you,
yeah.
but my point is, I feel like they were almost a little bit too much like, oh, I'm a goofy. Here's me. I'm
Merry
a
and
hobbit,
Pippin are the
and
Jar Jar Binks of this movie
right,
for sure.
that's kind of what I'm going after. So I felt like the hobbits, and maybe it's just that one character, and I have to kind of go back and see like, oh, it is the same character over and over who's kind of messing things up,
Two
and it was
people.
do what?
It's two. Merry and Pippin.
I see what you're saying. I'm sorry. So, yeah, that's all I'm saying is I felt like they at certain times it was a little much. Like if something was going to go, if there was an issue in the story, half of the time it was caused from them, and I'm like, okay, well here we go. Like he disturbs the water, throws a rock into the water, and that's what causes the giant thing to come up, and they have to run into the mines. They
Or he dropped the skeleton down a well.
down the
And that's
well. It's just
that's
like
what
it just seemed like it was one thing after another, and at certain point, and even like I get like being a little bit of a klutz, but then you add on to the fact that they're kind of like these little short giddy like kind of like, and that works to an extent because it's almost like this cool fantasy style group, which I almost kind of relate to this like a D&D type adventure, which is
Dude, that's
it's
literally what I was
dope.
gonna say. Lord of the Rings is the best D&D ever made.
Yeah.
That's how you should think of it.
So, but even then, it's like I get because I'm thinking about it, it's like, well, you want to play true to the character, and if you're a dopey kind of person like that, it makes it more interesting. Like I do get that. So I'm trying to give it more leeway because of that. But there were just a few times that I noticed that happened, and not enough to be
Kinda one
like
of these things where like everyone, obviously complained about somebody like Jar Jar Binks and the Phantom Menace especially, and I get that
he's on a
because
whole
I
other
also
level.
well, I mean, they're pretty similar to be honest, but it's kind of one of these things where all the other characters in the band of boys running around basically are so serious that when you take Mary characters like Merry and Pippin or even Jar Jar Binks out of their respective movies, it's like there's just no humor left.
Are you defending
Basically.
Jar Jar Binks?
A little bit.
You
Look at like
hate.
okay, let's tangent off here and look at Phantom Menace.
Well, that's what I was trying to
And
say.
you
I
look
think Jar Jar Binks is worse. So I'm saying that this movie did it
Right.
better. That's all. That's why I was saying
I
that.
could probably agree with you there, but even in the case of Phantom Menace with Jar Jar Binks, which I know we're not, that's, I hate to get off on this tangent, but I mean, when you look at Obi-Wan when he's young, and obviously Qui-Gon, and basically all the characters in them, they're all so serious about everything that they're doing that if you were just watching them, it would almost get a little boring. You know what I mean? Like, it's just you almost kind of need somebody like Merry and Pippin or Jar Jar Binks to do something stupid, and for Qui-Gon or Aragorn or some of that to reprimand, or oh my gosh, I just forgot his name.
You're blowing my mind. That I never thought I would hear you defend Jar Jar Binks.
I mean, I'm not saying he had to be as stupid as he was in the movie.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Is there's ways to do it better. You can have humor,
but
I think there's
to an
ways.
extent, yeah.
There can be a comedic relief person, but I think there's things that do it better and ones that do it better and ones that
Yeah, I'm
don't.
definitely not saying that the way it was done was the best way it could have been
No,
done.
but that's what I'm
Definitely
saying.
not
I'm also
Yeah.
trying to say the fact that like Jar Jar Binks, I think, is worse. Like this, the idea of how they were trying to do this made sense. There were just a couple times where it felt like it was a little much, but overall it wasn't too bad. Again, it didn't like make the movie awful because of it. Because there are people that are like, Phantom Menace sucks and it's 50% because of Jar Jar Binks or more. People would be like it's 80% because of Jar Jar Binks.
That's dumb. It's not 80% of Jar Jar Binks. Let me tell
I
you.
guarantee you there are people out there that would say that though. That hate Jar Jar Binks and think that his character is so bad he basically destroyed that movie. I mean, there are other things. That's why I didn't say 100%. But
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, no. So there are a few things here and there, and I am learning about everything, the lore of Lord of the Rings. So I think as it progresses, I'll gain even more respect for things that I've seen in this movie. So it's cool and it's exciting, and I'm glad that I get to see this movie because I haven't seen a lot of just like fantasy style movies, in a long time
they're
like
hard to
this.
do. Oftentimes they're either not enough care is put into them, or they're just too expensive to make in the first place. And Lord of the Rings is like the perfect take, where you had this already amazing story to build off of, and then you took a bunch of people who had the money to back it up and had the attention and care of Peter Jackson and company to really make it into something special. So I'd say this is Lord of the Rings is probably without a doubt the best, the most well done fantasy setting movie trilogy, or even you could just even say Fellowship is the best, or any of the Lord of the Rings movies, honestly, the best fantasy set movie out there. You could definitely make that argument. I'd have to try to think back at all the different fantasy settings that you can think of. But
it reminded me style wise of really one of the only ones I can really think of another fantasy style movie, which is the Chronicles of Narnia. Because I love those books and I did really enjoy the first movie, but it had been so long since I'd seen it. I don't know if it's as good as I remember it being, but I just, as that series went on and they decided to, and those books were written for a younger audience. I like the stories, but I don't know how much I could go back and like really follow along as far as like, I mean, I'm sure I could because I have this nostalgia with it, but it's made for a younger audience. And the movies, though, they can obviously scale up a little bit and make for a broader audience of people, but they just kind of got worse and worse and more disappointing. Where like I have this like other universe hopeful thing for the Chronicles of Narnia that I could imagine the Chronicles of Narnia being as big as the Lord of the Rings were if Narnia came first and they took more attention to detail.
Yeah, the problem with the Chronicles of Narnia is that it's just about kids.
Yeah. Again, it's around kids.
And I mean that's popular with kids, but it's hard. It's hard to get adults to care about movies that are about kids in general. It's not impossible, but
but just the world that it set up was so cool, and that's why I got so enthralled with it.
I really like the world that the Chronicle, like the idea, the setting, and the that kind of the concept is neat as hell. And like in certain characters in it, like Aslan, or or the big lion Jesus.
Big lion Jesus.
Big lion Jesus. It helps that he's voiced by Liam Neeson. That always makes a character just instantly badass.
We need a Chronicles of Narnia movie which takes place within the second movie. And what I mean by that is the second book / I'm sorry, it was the first movie, but the second book, which is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. and
Yeah.
it's when they first go into that wardrobe and they find Narnia and they stay there for like
They stay there
30
till they're like
years.
adults. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
and
they
then they
come out.
come back out and they end up as kids because no time passes in the real world when you're in Narnia.
Right.
So we need a movie, like a hardcore movie that of when they're like in their 30s,
Game of Thrones
like yeah,
of
like kings and queens like defending Narnia. That would be awesome.
yeah, look really good now too.
But anyways,
Man.
yeah, let's get into some stuff I'd really liked. Um just
God, everybody's a badass in this movie.
the orc the orc and then cave troll fight scene in the mines
Oh yeah.
was really cool. I really appreciate a good fight scene, and really, I think it picked up when they went into the mines. Everything got better at that point to me. Not that the rest of it wasn't necessarily good,
I can
but
see
that's
that.
where it really picked up.
That's yeah, that's really where you really start to get into like the party having an adventure opposed to like all the setup.
Right?
Um but yeah, I mean that cave trolls, talk about CG that holds up really well.
Yeah, that was
That
pretty
cave
good.
troll looked good and it's very fluid and it interacted with real life characters really well. Um I I'm trying to whenever I see the part where the cave troll stabs Frodo, and obviously he's wearing the mithril like chainmail under his shirt, so he's like he's okay. But I'm still thinking, I'm like, when he
Nah,
stabs, well,
nah.
first of all, chainmail doesn't protect you against stabbing. That's just a common thing. It's for slashing. If you get slashed with chainmail, it's supposed to help you not get slashed. But if you stab chainmail, it's just gonna stab through, unless it's a really shit sword. And if it's a giant cave troll stabbing you with a spear, you're done.
So
But magic, I'll let it go for magic. But when you stab somebody, like it, I feel like I don't know, like Frodo should have instantly known that he was okay. He shouldn't have like fell on the ground and been like, I'm dying. Oh, I'm all right. It was just kind of a weird how it was presented, basically.
yeah,
But I know they had to do the fake out death kind of a thing,
and
which they do for Frodo like 3 times in this movie.
in Mithril, so I can get past the point because it's like a fictional metal, so it could
Mithril is
be
real,
what's up?
but yes, Mithril is a real metal.
No, it's not. Look it up.
Oh no, it's
Definitely
fictional.
not.
Wait, there's something that's called what? Didn't one of the kings give baby Jesus something like
I will
Mithril?
be honest because I know we're super dumb and we've talked about that a lot. I made sure to look it up while you were talking to make sure it was real or not before I said.
There's something
But
that's
it's not.
called, but it's like very similar to that name. That's not fake. I swear.
Well, anyways,
Myrrh. I'm
my
thinking of myrrh. Sorry, I know. It's one of the things that the kings gave baby Jesus. You know what I'm talking about? Frankincense, gold, and myrrh, or something like that.
yeah, but I don't think
Is it?
myrrh is
I think
metal,
myrrh.
dude. Hold on, hold on.
I'm so off.
Myrrh is not metal, dude. Myrrh is like,
Hold on.
it's an aromatic, like it's
An
basically like
embalming oil.
perfume, dude.
Baby Jesus and embalming oil. Hey, just in case you gotta bury your dead grandma, here's some embalming oil.
Or it's,
The
I think
fuck?
it can also be like perfume type stuff. So it's like a scented, fancy scent stuff or whatever. But it's not metal.
The incense is. That's what frankincense is.
My man thought that they gave baby Jesus a
The
chainmail plate, a
chain.
chainmail vest. Here's some mithril so you can fight some orcs when you grow up, Jesus.
Okay, there's spelled. So, I don't know why I got that stuck in my head, man. I
Ugh.
thought it was a real thing. But yeah, fair.
Okay, so my point is mithril. I understand that it's this mythical like metal, so it's really strong, and maybe it can't be stabbed through. But a giant cave troll just
Yep.
jammed. So let's pretend it didn't like like it's not sharp as far as like it didn't pierce him. He broke some ribs, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah,
maybe that
something
was
like
the face. Like, but he's like, I'm fine. It's like, well, at least pretend like you broke something, dude, because you basically got rammed by a cave troll. That sounded so wrong.
I know, yeah. Here's the problem when you start breaking stuff down. So you can just say, "Well, it's magic," and then it's like, "Ah, well,
But
maybe
it's
because
not.
like
But
you
is
say
it
that the
magic?
mithril, you could say that it's magic so that it just deflects anything that tries to hit it in the mithril. You know what I mean? Like you could just okay, boom, it's over.
I can find out
Like
dude,
that.
right now.
I mean, it's kind of like I hate to give it that kind of like easy out, but we just don't know. I mean, is this movie supposed to say like the exact specifications of what mithril can take?
Technically,
You know,
it just says that it's described as resembling silver, but stronger and lighter than steel.
it could
Nowhere in
be
this lore.
infinitely strong.
Please tell me, Lord of the Rings fans, is mithril magic? On to the next point.
Well,
Uh,
okay, the middle might necessarily need to be magic, but the way it's made could be magic. Does that make sense?
yeah, but if you're gonna have
Because
somebody, you
fake
gotta. I
ale
feel like you
is
have to
incredibly
explain
rare.
that a little bit. If someone's gonna get that much, if you're gonna do a fake out death,
Well, Bilbo does go through the whole thing of like introducing it and like talking about it and stuff like that. You know, and it's not ridiculous,
yeah, he says it's super light. That's
and
all he
also
says.
very.
Again, I just ask you guys, is mithril magic, and I'll move on. Yeah, that scene was really cool. Um, and then the scene where you shall not pass.
Oh yeah, with the Balrog.
So that whole scene I really liked, and I was very invested. And then I was very emotionally tied when he just let himself fall into the void. Like my mouth just gaped open. I was like, no, how dare
Man,
you?
that line he says, man, fly you fools, and then he's just gone. Oh man, yeah,
Yeah,
that's fucking great.
I was hitting the feels, so they did a really good job with that. Now, although they did a really good job with it, I'm gonna. Why do you just let go? Why do you let go?
Oh
And
man,
why
what do
did
you
they
want to
hold
do?
Frodo back? Why did they hold Frodo back when they were trying to like go save him? Like somebody just go grab his hand, dude, and they
No,
just let him go.
they just now Lord of the Rings universe has some crazy stuff in it, but no one knew like the Balrog was like that's some crazy shit that no one knows. Like Aragorn and Boromir and even Legolas, who's been alive for like 1,000 years, like they don't know about the ball. Like that's some crazy shit they just unearthed.
Yeah,
And so you see something like that, you're gonna tell the guy who's holding the one ring that they need to like, they have very specific destination from. Hey, maybe you should not go running towards that thing because we don't know if it could just fly up all of a sudden out of that.
I think that's a
cavern,
pretty bad excuse so that he could fly up. Like somebody, I feel like somebody should have been like, "I'm gonna go help me." He's hanging on the edge. We saw the evil thing fall into the pit. Like they were all together, and they were all like, "No, don't stop." When he was like trying to like tell him, he shouldn't pass, and like trying to fend him off, like they still want him
Yeah,
to live. I feel like that's a bad excuse to just be like,
from
"Oh, let him die." I don't know. I know it's a
a
scary
logic
thing.
perspective, you should have probably had like he instead it should have been set so where the Balrog actually dragged him down the whole way instead of like just starting his drag, falling, and then having Gandalf fall after him.
Yeah,
But if
but
he'd done it
Gandalf let go, and there could be
easily
a
snapped that
whole
block.
reason as to why he let go, and it probably some weird wizard like his like mind was like, I have to let go now, or they'll never leave me, and this is just gonna end up bad for them. So I've given it a pass. I almost say why do you let go, partially from a sadness perspective of like they got me,
Yeah.
like I was sad, and I was like, oh no, and I'm like, why would you let go, you stupid fool, like. So it gets you a little bit because it's like kind of dumb, but at the same time you're almost just like sad, like what are you doing? I don't know. I'm just explaining what was going through my mind when I saw it.
I was also thinking about just thinking about all the badass stuff Gandalf does in this movie. It's when he jumps off of oh, what is it called? It's Saruman's tower. It's called like
Oh, onto the giant bird thing.
onto the eagle. Yeah, like it just reminded me so much of like a scene out of like Attack of the Clones where like Obi-Wan jumps off and grabs onto stuff. It was so funny to watch.
All of the reasons you're saying that you like this movie, you relate to
All
episodes
the
1
reasons
and
I
2 of
don't
Star Wars, which you
yeah.
hate, and I think it's great. He does some awesome stuff like in Attack of the Clones.
Well, so I don't know. For some reason, it just like there's some stuff that you don't know yet from all the movies about all these characters, and that kind of partially clears some of that stuff up, especially when you talk about Gandalf. But I do like that he's like this old man wizard, but he's also this like crazy badass.
Right.
He's not just like some goofy old guy who's just like barely doing spells. Also does like all the fireworks stuff at the beginning of this movie. I had totally forgotten about that happened, and I thought that was great.
the how cool the fireworks were.
Yeah, like all the wizard fireworks he sets off. He like it's just like it's something that like he normally wouldn't do because he's normally not like a flaunt his abilities kind of a guy. Like you can clearly tell by like the Balrog scene, like he's way more powerful than he lets off. But I think it's funny that he just likes it when like little Hobbit kids are happy, so he has like he does fireworks and shit. I don't know. It's just it's nice. It's wholesome.
Yeah. I think this is great. Seeing you, this dynamic of me not having seen it and you
Yeah,
have, and you defending things that I feel like that some of them are
I know.
perfectly fine, but I feel like there's some things that you're defending or talking about in a way of, and again, I say defending as in like I'm on one side of hating it, and that's not the case, but just like points that I bring up, but certain things that you defend that you might not previously or on other things, and it almost comes from this because you just love this movie and this series because of partially your nostalgia to it, but also just because you really like what it's set up and created and this artistic part of it, and I love that. Like I like that that's happening. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just interesting to me
I know.
because
It's
I
one
know
of
that
those
I would
things.
do the same for certain things, and that's
Yeah.
not again. That's not to say that I think this movie's bad. That's not the case at all. It's just it's a cool perspective since I haven't seen it and you have. But
Yeah.
another really cool thing was I do really like how they showed when he put on the ring and like the other like what you see when he's invisible and
Oh yeah.
like how he perceives that world or whatever in this cool like foggy magical almost scary view. Also, why the heck when he puts on the ring do you turn invisible? It's a ring of power, and nowhere else when the king put on the ring before did he turn invisible. I don't get that. It's just a thing that they did to like help the plot, I guess. I mean, it's cool. I'm cool with it. It's magic, but
stuff there that probably explains it. But yeah, I didn't think about how when they show Sauron wearing the ring, 3,000 years ago or whatever, he's not invisible. Like that part of it's just not activated. Like it's very
Sauron, then the king when he takes it off and puts it on himself,
yeah.
it just never turns anybody else invisible. It's like it's just a thing to like help the plot. But again, I'm not necessarily like picking it apart for that because like that's fine, and maybe that only happens because the only people that put on the ring and actually turn invisible were
Hobbits
hobbits.
in this movie at least. I'm
So
trying to think of the
maybe it
other.
affects races differently. And again, I haven't seen other movies. Other people might put it on turn invisible, but it's just weird that that is a
I'm
new
trying to
power.
personally if anyone else. No, well,
Don't tell me. I don't even want to know. I want to know.
yeah, okay. That's something we'll put a pin in that and we'll try
That's
to
something
figure
you
it
have
out.
to, yeah, follow along.
Because I know there's other characters that do, but I don't know what their class. Yeah, it's strange. But yeah.
You got anything
Um,
else? I got more. You want me to start?
go for it. Go for it. No,
Okay,
go for it.
so the battle scene at the end where Boromir dies was epic.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, dude.
his whole
Boromir
death scene when he got shot with the arrow and he's like ah, and then he just keeps going. He gets shot again. He's like ah, and just keeps going. And he gets shot 3 times and just keeps fighting. I was like this dude.
I love when Boromir shot 3 times. He's not dead. He's just on his knees, and all the orcs are just running past him, and he's
That
just
was
like,
I was gonna say that too because there's
yeah,
like
it's
leave him for dead. I don't care.
they just like they're just yeah, it just doesn't matter. And then that head orc, the Uruk-hai, when he's like fighting with Aragorn later, and Aragorn stabs him, and then the Uruk-hai's like dragging the sword with him to try to like get closer. I was like, man, that's ridiculous, but that's dope, man. Those guys are
Yeah.
crazy.
And I think it was Boromir, I think, was the one who did it. But during when he basically came to save the other two, again, I forget
Yeah.
their names. You've said them a lot, but the other two, yeah, they he's fending them off like on that little bridge, and he does a knife throw, and it's such a cool shot. That knife throw specifically, it like almost comes towards the camera, and it's such a good shot. That's all I have to say about it. I just loved it, and I had to write it down.
There's a really cool part in that fight scene where Legolas is shooting arrows at orcs and stuff like that. And there's one where he shoots an arrow through the orc, and it goes so far through the orc that it's sticking out like a good foot behind the next guy, and the other guy just runs
Runs into it.
into it.
Yeah.
It's great. Oh man, so many. Yeah, that's lots of great moments where it's just all these badass guys just get to show off how dope they are. Unfortunately, I don't think in this movie at least, Gimli doesn't get a proper chance to show himself off, but he'll get his
And
time, don't you?
another thing with the humor, like you were saying, you need people for humor, but even like Gimli had a couple moments that were good humor wise. I think like when they were jumping
Gimli,
across the stairs in the mines, and he was like, he looks at the dude, he's like, nobody throws a dwarf, and then he's like, not the beard. I was like, it's great.
yeah, Gimli's crazy, bro. Gimli's great. I love all that. That's one thing I do really like about the Hobbit, the movie series, and obviously the book, is that there's way more dwarf stuff in that, because it's basically Bilbo with a big party of dwarves going on their own adventure and stuff like that. So I do like the Hobbit movies just because they have so much of the like Gimli style dwarf kind of stuff
Yeah.
in it. Um, but yeah, I think Boromir is really interesting because he falls into this like classic like protagonist antagonist part that you normally he's playing the character you normally see in a movie where he's on the right side but he's like an asshole the whole time. Oh gosh, sorry, I got someone stuck in my back of my throat. Oh, he's kind of like the asshole the whole time, but he's like sometimes he's right, and he's like kind of a necessity. He has to be around, but he treats everybody else like shit. He's playing that role, except he's not treating it like he's kind of right, and he feels bad for like when he fucks up, like when he's trying to take the ring, and when he's like he's susceptible to his own like human nature and his greed and stuff like that. Like he doesn't like that he does that, but he does it. It's still a part of him. So I like that he's that character, but done differently enough, so that he still feels like his own, and he's his own guy. Like he's just
Right,
born
where you care that he dies. Like it's almost like a typical like he's with the party, but he betrays them, and then they have to kill him because he's the antagonist. You might feel a little bad, but it's like, well, he's dead, and he was kind of evil the whole time, but that's not really the case. It was like a middle ground, which is really cool, and they made you actually care about him when he died.
Right. Yeah. No. That's it. I don't know why this is the only comparison I can think of, but he's like in the Maze Runner movies. He's like the eyebrow kid. You know what I'm talking about?
He's like Loki, bro. No one really wants Loki to die, but he's an awful person.
Yeah. Well,
he's not.
Yeah,
I know he's not. There's a very big difference there, but
he's filling that like character trope, I guess you could say. That's where he's supposed to be story wise. Yeah. But yeah.
I had something else to say and I forgot what it was. Making me sad.
I'm trying to think. I think we pretty much covered like their whole journey for the most part. Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin go from, once they get the, after all the beginning bits, they get the ring and they take it to Riven, or I guess at first they just take it to Bree, which is the little town where they have the inn and everything, and then they meet up with Strider / Aragorn, and then they go the rest of the way into Rivendell, and then they meet up and have the actual fellowship, and then take it the rest of the way. I feel like, and then that last fight scene with the orcs is kind of where we leave off the story. Frodo and Sam are on their own, taking it the rest of the way, and the rest of the party's kind of all divided up.
Yeah, well, their goal, they decide to still go to Mordor, but not take the same route, because their goal is to basically save the other hobbits.
That's right.
Yeah,
they're captured by orcs. Yeah.
Fun fact: the sword that Frodo has, that is like, it lights up blue when it's when there's orcs nearby or whatever. I had the toy version of that sword when I was a kid, and I never saw Lord of the Rings, because I saw it and I was like, right when he pulled it out, I was like, that looks very similar to the little toy sword that I used to play with all the time. And they talked about it, how it lit up blue, and I was like, the sword that I had at a battery thing, you put batteries in it and it will light up blue. And I'm sure you've probably seen it around my house, maybe not, but I thought it was in like,
I can't remember it.
You what?
I can't remember seeing it.
Yeah, but I just, whenever I played with like a little like sword or whatever, I used that. I thought it was funny. So whenever like merch for what's the word I'm looking for? whatever.
Toys,
I guess it is merchandise for Lord of the Rings was popular,
yeah.
and I needed a little toy sword. That's what my parents got me, I guess.
Wow. Yeah, you would have only been like 6 at the time.
Yeah. Wondering if it actually came out with one of the other movies though, if they just continue. I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
Yeah, there was that one bit that we forgot to talk about where I can't it's in Lothriel, I think is how you say it. It's where it's the part with Gladriel, Kate Beckinsale. Is that her name?
Yeah.
That weird bit where they like it's in the trees and it's more elves, but it's like it's after obviously Rivendell.
I know what you're
And
talking
like
about.
yeah.
And she goes
Um
crazy and like turns into a demon for a second, and then you're like, "Oh,
yeah,
what?"
that's a very I can't really remember what like the significance of that really is.
And then
It's
she's like,
always been
and then she's like, "I passed the test." I was like, "You what? You turn into a demon?"
You were testing yourself and you passed? I don't know if I really care about this test anymore.
But it
Yeah,
was
that whole bit's weird. I figured you might bring that up and be just like, "What happened there?" And I was gonna be like, "I don't know."
and a super weird line where they were like they're playing a thing for like singing a song in Elvish or whatever to honor Gandalf, and they're like, "What are they saying?" He's like, "I can't tell you because I'm too sad." I was like, "What? What? This is their friend. You're awful."
That is funny.
Because he's like, "My grieving is still too recent or whatever." Basically, he was like, "I'm too
Okay,
sad,
well,
so I'm
I know
not telling
you
you."
guys, so you should probably tell me though.
Yeah, it's like I'm sad too. I was friends with him long before you were, so I grew up with this man. Can you tell me what
Actually,
they're singing about him?
that might not be true. Gandalf, like Gandalf's been around since like the beginning of time.
What's up? Oh yeah, I mean maybe not, but
The wizards and the elves are really really old, and Frodo's not as young as he looks, but because hobbits live a long time too, um, but not nearly as long. I think it was even weird that Bilbo was as old as he is. I think his life was being elongated by the ring.
right. So you say a
Um,
really long time. So their lifespan is not really really long. It's just a little slightly longer than humans because he was
yeah,
111
wow,
and he had the ring.
medieval age humans, yeah, for sure.
So I'm
Because I mean,
assuming they probably lived
it
to
was
like
weird
100.
that he made it to 111 and was still like as good as he was, but it wasn't like crazy, you know?
No, but he had the ring, and they were saying that slowed down the process. So and then the next time we saw him, he looked a lot older. So I'm assuming they probably have an average lifespan of probably like 100. Yeah, that's my guess.
Yeah. But if you compare that to like medieval humans, that's really long, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
I mean, we
but
don't
it's
even
not
have a
as long
lifespan
as
of 100 now.
thousands of years.
Oh yeah, for sure, no.
But yeah, guys, feel free if you guys have anything that you guys want us to cover when it comes to Lord of the Rings or things that I got wrong or whatever. And if you hate me for my opinions, go for it. Let me know what you guys think. Basically, to wrap up, for me, this movie did a good job at making me really want to see this next movie, and it obviously was a lot to like set up, and I really enjoy the fantasy style and the world and everything that was set up. So I'm just ready to like dive in more and kind of see what happens because there's a lot of cool things in this.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm obviously a fan. I love it. So, you know, that's all I need to say. There's one last thing I want to say though that I think is crazy, which I did not know until I'm reading this right now on the Wikipedia page. The role of Aragorn, which went to obviously Viggo Mortensen, who I think does a great job, was originally offered to Daniel Day-Lewis, which would have been crazy, but he turned it down. And then the next person they offered it to before Viggo was Nicolas Cage.
Ooh.
Can you imagine? And then to make it even crazier, did you know Vin Diesel auditioned for the role of Aragorn?
That would have been a fun movie. The whole time while they're walking around in their group, but we're a family.
What's even funnier is that the whole reason Nick Cage couldn't do the movie was because of family.
family issues, like he was having a
It
kid.
says family obligations. That's all it says. And then they considered Russell Crowe, but Russell Crowe makes a little bit more sense.
There's some
Especially-
there's some awesome like fan art of Nicolas Cage in Lord of the Rings. Like I'm just really bad like photoshopped his face on characters.
Oh my god!
Fantastic. You guys should just type, guys, if you're listening to this, type in Lord of the Rings Nicolas Cage and then images, because there's some great stuff. Great stuff.
Hey, some of these photoshops of Nicolas Cage's Aragorn, actually, this one's of him as Boromir, don't actually look all that bad.
Yeah,
This
I mean,
is this him in another movie? This might be him in another movie, but this is the one I'm just gonna link this to you.
I sent you my favorite one
That
though.
one looks fucking terrible. But look at this. Look
Did
at
you
this
see
one.
the picture I sent you?
I just looked at
It's
it. Jesus Christ.
fantastic.
Look at that one. That must be from another movie because that looks just too
We
good.
got to get video on these podcasts, guys, because that's actually pretty good.
Right.
You'll guys just look it up. You'll see. You'll understand.
Woo, that's it. That's been movies.
But
we'll
yeah.
see you in 4 days.
Yep, we'll see you guys on regular Monday episodes, and then next Thursday for more Lord of the Rings talk.
Right.
And we'd
Ooh, see you later.
we'd love to get
Right.
more feedback, so we can talk about whatever you guys bring up regarding Lord of the Rings, because there's so much like lore and all that other stuff. Bring me beyond the movies. I'm ready. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I'll be ready once I see all the movies, but
Yep.
But thanks for listening. If you guys are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate it. It really helps us out. So if you enjoyed, that would be mucho appreciated. Definitely follow us on social media at That's Movies Brother on Instagram and Facebook, Twitter. We have now, which is That's Movies Bro, because That's Movies Brother apparently was too long.
Oh,
But-
it's too. I thought you were about to say it's taken. I was like, if someone has already taken the name, we made it. That's how I'm thinking of.
And then also more news. We are now on YouTube. For those of you guys that like to listen to your podcast on YouTube, you can do that now. I know there are some people that are, but if you're listening to this now, maybe you are listening to this on YouTube. Who knows? We're going to get to the point where hopefully we can get actually some video aspect to this podcast. Not going to promise when that's going to happen because that's still a work in progress.
I'm promising it this weekend.
No,
I'm just-
but as of right now, the audio is on YouTube. So That's Movies Brother YouTube channel. Go subscribe there if you so desire. And then follow me at Tyler C. Gillette if you want to find out what I'm doing. And I'd have Nate plug his, but he doesn't believe in social media.
Just find me, dude.
What's up?
Just find me.
If you can find Nate somewhere online, I'll give you $10.
No. If you can just find me in the world.
If you can find him in the world, I'll give you $20. But
All right.
that's only for the next. You got a month. If you can find him within the next month, I'll give you $20. Anywhere online, I'll give you 10.
You're anticipating us hitting it big, and then you're gonna have to pay $20. Well, if we hit it big, dude, you got the money for it. So I don't know what you're scared of.
I'm just gonna give everybody. Well, I didn't say like it was limited, so I'd have to give $20 to everyone that finds you,
Everyone.
and $10 to everyone that finds you online. And hopefully, at that point, you'll be online to some extent. All they have to do is they'll Google you and be like, "I found you online. Here you go."
I might.
And I'm shelling out thousands of dollars, dude. Thousands.
It's worth it. Worth it. Okay, I'm ending it. Bye-bye.
But wait. We got to let them know. Next week, Monday, we're talking about Goop. And if you guys don't know what Goop is,
Watch Goop on Netflix. 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 On Netflix.